Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. The other day on my channel I unboxed Aeronautica Imperialis and gave my initial thoughts. If you watched that video you will know that one of my complaints about the game as a starter set was that it didn't include any stat cards for the units that you actually got in the game. But lo and behold, fear not, for Games Workshop sells packs of unit cards. Isn't that nice of them? For the princely sum of just £16 a pack, or I think I paid about £12.50, you can get sets of cards which have stat cards and cards for upgrades and other bits and bobs. I will say, I purchased these with the starter set because I felt they were essential for me to get a good feel for how the game plays and to enjoy my first games. I was not happy about buying them. I feel that cards for the units and upgrades that you get with the starter set should have been with the starter set. They shouldn't have been an additional purchase. And I suppose you can argue they are a quality of life item. You can manage without them. You can write on bits of paper or notebooks and things like that, just like in the good old days. But I feel that at least a small amount of cards for the units in the box should have been included. And knowing that those weren't in there, I felt I had to buy these. So not overly happy about it, but I've got them now, so there's no point whinging about the fact that I had to get them. I've got them. Were they worth it? That's what this video is all about. So we're going to take a look at the contents of both packs, and we'll talk about the distribution of the cards you get in it, and what I think overall. That sounds like a lot of fun, doesn't it? First of all, I want to point out the boxes. Really nice quality boxes. Really thick. And they have the spot gloss on the Aeronautica Imperialis logo and the insignia down here. And really nice artwork. And this is obviously the Ork pack. It comes with 93 cards. The Imperial pack actually has 94 cards. So, let's have a look at the Ork boys first. What you get in each pack is you get a set of large cards, which are the unit cards, and then you get a whole bunch of these smaller cards, and these smaller cards represent upgrades, pilots, and additional weaponry. And you can see, if we look on this card here, this is actually explained in the rulebook for the game as well, but around the edge of your unit card you actually have a thing here that says aircraft upgrades, you have a thing here that says pilot, thing here that says crew, and a thing here that says additional weapons. So the idea is you've got your one card per each craft that you have in play, and then you attach your cards around the edge of it. Interestingly, there is a spot for crew, but there are no crew cards in either of these card packs, so already that's something that has been gated off, that's there in the game but has already been gated off for an expansion. It's a bit of day one DLC for you. We seem to be getting more and more, I think, in the board game world, this idea of day one DLC content. It is it's not something I particularly approve of. I understand, obviously, you can't put everything in a starter set, but it's very apparent that there's a lot of stuff, particularly for this game. You're looking through the rulebook, there's quite a few points where it says, this will be in a future expansion. It's noticeable, and there's a card later on that I'll show you where even though I've got the card, even though I've got the stats for a particular type of unit, I still can't really use it because it's got special rules that I don't have and which don't exist yet, I don't think, because they're coming in a future expansion. But anyway, I'll stay on track. So you get the big form cards and you get the little form cards. And what about the distribution? This is, I think, the best thing about these card packs is that they have built them on the assumption that you bought the starter set first. And if you watch my previous video, you'll know that the starter set, when it comes to the miniatures that you get in it, you get half boxes most of the time. You do get a full box of Marauders for the Imperials, but you only get 2 Thunderbolts, but Thunderbolts come in a box of 4. You only get 3 Dakka Jets, but Dakka Jets actually come in a box of 6. So the way they've distributed the cards in these packs is they have assumed that you've bought a starter set, and then if you've wanted to expand any particular unit, you've bought a full box afterwards. So what that means is, in the Ork pack, it actually has 9 Dakka Jet cards, which covers your 3 from the base set and then your 6 from an additional purchase. And one of them is a special craft called the Vulture, which is slightly different. It's got slightly different stats, and it has a slightly different point cost. And this is obviously a famous craft from the lore, because you don't get to give it upgrades, and it doesn't have a slot for crew either. It's got a slot for pilot, and it's got a slot for weapons, but that is all. But yeah, so you get 9 Dakka Jet cards, and that motif continues in that you get 6 fighter bomber cards, because you get 2 in the box, and then if you buy another box set, you get another 4. And again, we have a named craft, the Big Burner, which has its own particular paint style. You'll notice that all the rest, the artwork is grey, so you can do whatever you want with it. But I guess they're kind of assuming you're going to try and recreate that paint scheme if you want the Big Burner in your force. These special craft aren't mentioned in the base game rules, but I don't really see any reason why you can't use them once you've got the cards for them, and they've got the points cost on the card, so you know how much extra you're paying for them. So I see no reason why you can't just straight up drop those in. But then we also get cards for craft that are in the first wave of products, but which haven't yet come out. So we have the Heavy Bomber, and you get 2 cards for the Heavy Bomber, which leads me to believe that there will be 2 in the unit box. And these have been, I think we've seen the miniature for these online. I think they've teased them, if not outright revealed them, I can't remember. And then we also get 2 cards for the Grot Bomber. So we get cards for 4 craft in total, which will be all of the Wave 1 releases for that particular force. And like I say, in addition to that, you get a whole bunch of additional weapons, which are the weapons that you can buy when you look in the rulebook. These are ones that are actually in the base game rules, and they've given you quite a lot, working on the assumption that you're going to need these a lot, but still maybe not enough. You actually get 10 of most of them. So you get 10 rockets, you get 10 big bombs, you get 10 wing bombs. But for the Grot Bombs, which are a more specialized type of weapon, only available to the Grot Bombers, you only get 4. So I guess they've tried to give you enough. I do wonder if maybe things like the rockets, you might still run out of those cards. But hey, I don't know. You also get a whole bunch of upgrades, and you get 6 of most of these. So we've got custom big shooters, you get 6 of those. I'm not going to go through what they do, because these are all actually in the rulebook, in the base game rulebook, in the starter set. Extra armor, the Wazmech Special, and Belching Smoke. You also get 2 fly bosses. You can actually only have 1 fly boss in your force, so I'm not entirely sure why they've given you 2. I guess there's some kind of roster building thing in the full rules. But like I say, I haven't seen the full rules yet. But you get 2 fly bosses. You also get 2 special named pilots. I'm assuming these are actually the pilots of the special named craft, but I'm not sure. And there's no points on these, and there's no points in the base game rules for them, which is a little bit annoying, because I don't know how many points they would cost to have in play. So I would have to just make it up or just work on the basis and say, okay, I'll take one of these named characters, you can take one of the named characters from the Imperial force, and, you know, hope that levels out that way. I don't know. I think they should have had the points on. But hey, there we go. You also get a small set of ace abilities, 6 in total. These are abilities that can be applied to your pilot. Again, I think all the rules for ace abilities are in the full extended rulebook, the Rin's World campaign. And finally, you get cards for ground defenses. You get, bizarrely, and this is the thing where the distribution, I guess, breaks down a little bit. You get 3 flak platforms and you get 3 heavy flak cannons. But in the miniatures pack that you can buy that contains all of the ground defenses, you actually get 4 flak platforms and only 2 heavy flak cannons. So I'm wondering if, when the cards were being designed, the intention was there was going to be 3 of each, and then that got changed later on and they couldn't change the distribution in time, or maybe they just assumed, I don't know what they could have assumed. But the distribution of cards here doesn't match the distribution of miniatures on the frame. Also, I would have expected the heavy flak cannon to be more expensive than the flak platform, but it ain't. But anyway, there we go. So that's the contents of the Ork card pack. And overall, I would say it's going to make my initial games much easier, because I'm going to have those unit cards that have the upgrades and weapon options and things around them, so that's going to be an immediate reference point for me playing the game, rather than having to flick through the rule book and things like that. So I am happy to have that, and it's nice that it includes the Heavy Bomber and the Grot Bomber, so when those miniatures come out, I can purchase them and just immediately have the points costs and everything else that to use those. Although there are still certain things you don't know. In the rulebook, it will tell you how many weapon upgrades you can give to a specific craft and things like that. Like it'll say, with a Dakar jet, you can give it 3 weapon upgrades from this particular list. I don't have that information for heavy bombers and grot bombers. I can make an assumption, but I don't have the exact rules for how to use those cards. So even though I've got this card pack, and even though I know the points cost of an heavy bomber, there's still certain bits of information that are not accessible to me because I didn't get the full rulebook, which is a bit of an annoyance. It's more of an annoyance for the Imperial set, though. Let's have a look at the Imperials. So the distribution works very much on the same basis. You get enough cards to assume you've bought the starter set and 1 box again. The only difference being they've doubled up on Thunderbolts and Thunderbolt Furies, because they can't predict how you're going to make your miniatures. You may want to make every single miniature you've got as a Fury, so they've given you enough cards to do that. Or you may want to make them all as Thunderbolts, in which case they've given you enough cards to do that. So you get 6 in total, because a box has four planes in it, and you get 2 in a starter set. And like with the Orks, you get a special craft, the Executioner, with the full colour artwork on it, which has very slightly different stats and a very slightly different points cost because of that. And then, like I say, assuming that, because they can't assume whether you're going to do Furies or not, they've given you 6 Fury cards as well, but you don't get a special for the Furies. So 6 of those. They then give you 4 Marauders, which covers your 2 from the starter set and an additional 2 if you buy another box. And once again, we have a special named craft. We have the Blue Devil, weighing in at 26 points. And finally, we have the cards for the craft, which is available already, the Destroyer, but which does not come in the starter set. And you get 2 cards for those, because it's assuming you just buy 1 box. and you didn't get any in the starter set. This is the card that I was referencing earlier, because it has a special rule. It has a special rule here called Jump Troops, and it also has a transport value of 1. Now, if you look in the base rules that come with the starter set, it says transport value indicates that it has a cargo capacity. It can carry cargo or troops, and rules for what that means will be in a future supplement. And furthermore, the special rules for jump troops are not included in the starter set at all. So I can go out and I can buy the miniatures for these. I have the cards for these. I know the points value for these, but I have no idea what jump troops do, and I have no idea what upgrades are available to the destroyer, because I do not have that extended rulebook. So that's a little bit of annoyance, even having bought the cards. But you know, obviously I'm aware of the fact that, you know, you're supposed to have the full rulebook. The cards are an accessory for the full game, not specifically for the starter set. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame that even having bought the cards, there's still grey areas in the rules that I don't know what they will do. You get some weapons. There's actually only 3 types of weapons for the Imperial forces. We have wing bombs, and they give you 12 of those, and that's pretty much because I think every type of Imperial craft can take every type of additional weapon that is currently available. So they've given you 12 just to try and cover you, but I suspect some of these things you may run out of still. 12 Sky Strike missiles and 12 Hell Strike missiles. As with the Ork card deck, we also get 2 generic Imperial Aces. You're only ever allowed to take 1 in your force. And we have our 2 special Aces who have their own specific abilities, and which could cost any amount of points because I don't know. Again, I assume those would be in the Rin's World campaign book. There's a set of Ace ability cards. And obviously, only having the starter set, there's certain things like the special pilots and Ace abilities and things like that, which are covered in the extended rules and not covered in the starter set. But at least I have these cards and I can fudge a way to use them. I don't need to specifically know exactly how the rules work to use these abilities. If I feel like it for a game, maybe at the start of the game, just shuffle a couple of these and divvy them out to pilots or whatever, or out to specific craft, and say, okay, those crafts have got special abilities for this particular game. So at least I can get some utility out of these even before I've purchased the Rin's World campaign book. And I should point out that at this point, I still haven't actually played my first game because I only got the game yesterday as of filming this. So I don't know yet how much I'm going to enjoy it, and I don't know whether I'm going to want to invest more than I have. It looks like a fun game, but I'm not going to rush out and buy the Rin's World campaign book just yet. Here's a bunch of upgrades. We get flares and chaff launchers. And again, there's 6 of these, as with the Orks. We get the armoured cockpit, infrared targeting, and ejector seats. Finally, we get 3 Manticore missile battery cards and 3 Hydra flak battery cards. And again, it's 3 and 3, but the miniatures that come in the box set of ground defenses, you only get 2 Manticores and 4 Hydras. So I'm really not sure why they've done this particular distribution with the card packs. It's a little bit annoying. I don't know how much of an annoyance. It seems annoying. Maybe it's something that in play it won't actually matter all that much. But yeah, it seems a little bit like a change of plans somewhere along the line, or maybe even a mistake in as they were working out the distribution for the cards. I don't know for sure. But there we go. That is the entire contents of the Aircraft and Aces card packs for the Imperial Forces and the Ork Waaagh. And yes, I am pleased that I've purchased them. I think they are going to make my games easier, my first games, my learning games. and I think the distribution of the cards is pretty reasonable. They've tried to cover all your bases. I'm sure there's going to be instances where certain cards run out, particularly with the most commonly used weapons. But overall, I think they've included enough. Are the card packs worth the £16? On top of having, you know, if you're paying full retail price, £16 for each card pack, and then the £55 starter on top, you're really starting to nudge the cost of this game up pretty high. But the card quality is nice. There's plenty of them. They are going to help out, and look at the beautiful boxes. I guess that's all I've got to say for now. I hope that anybody who was thinking about buying the cards and was worried about the particular distribution or how it was going to work with buying upgrades and additional expansions and things like that has found this video useful. If you have enjoyed this video, do please consider liking, sharing, subscribing to the channel if you don't already, because all that stuff helps me out immensely and makes me a very happy boy. But that is it from me. Thank you very much for listening up till now, and hopefully I'll see you all again very soon. Bye bye everyone. Bye bye.